October Red is sponsored by SA Security. Maximum security, minimum fuss.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. It's Abs of October Red, and yes, we are back for news and reviews. First of all, I would like to say a sincere thank you to, I think it was just under 1,000 of you I got on the watch along last weekend just gone, for the Alan Makhmadov bout. Appreciative, some good conversation, some banter, the usual stuff that we get in what I'd like to call our conversations and commentary when we do our watch along. So thank you very, very much. If you're a new subscriber here, a warm welcome to you. And if you're one of those guys that have been here from the beginning and are on the journey, thank you so much for staying. You are the foundations of the channel. If you are a regular listener but you don't subscribe, I'd ask you to subscribe. I'd like you to subscribe because we are aiming for channel growth. If you guys follow me across social media, you'll notice that I'm posting less on Instagram. I think my aim is to potentially just get rid of Instagram. Try and get the mobile numbers of fighters so I can contact them to potentially arrange interviews. Instagram, yeah, I prefer YouTube, and that's what I'm trying to grow. So yeah, what I thought I'd do today is just cover the last couple of days really. I have been keeping an eye on what's happening with Boxer versus Wishausen. Nothing's come of that yet. I think it's November when that's supposed to heat up. And I've been keeping an eye on the... which one is it now? The TKO, which seems to have gone very quiet. I don't know if they've got another card lined up. I don't know what's going on with them, but I am keeping an eye on what's going on with the amended Muhammad Ali Act. I know that another person's dropped out of it, so I don't know if it's as favourable as it was in the beginning. It seems to be a bit quiet on that at the moment. Maybe they're having a break on it. It takes a while to pass laws. In the UK, we have a similar system. The idea comes through. It gets presented on one colour paper. I think it's the green paper. Then it's read out. Then it's debated. Then it's agreed or not agreed. Then it goes from the Commons. It goes into the House of Lords. They do the same thing. They've got all the legal expertise. They potentially could offer amendments. And then when they all agree, it's passed to the King. And then he stamps it. And then it's like, yeah, it's a law. So it's a process. It's not straightforward. It's not overnight. But I will say to you guys, if you're interested in what's going on in our country, look at the bills that are proposed, because there's a lot of stuff that goes under the radar. Because remember, we don't have a say necessarily. You know, it's not like the referendum when we were given a choice to leave or remain. A lot of these laws will be put through and they may not necessarily benefit you. So it'd be a good idea for you to have a look and see what's going on. But I'm drifting off into politics. And I didn't want to do that this morning. We are here for boxing. So ramble over. Right. What I was looking at is Ben Whittaker. That was the fight that I was looking at. That was what I was interested in. Because that's been announced. Matchroom have done a couple of announcements, to be fair, which is good to see. Let's have a look. So it's November the 29th. Birmingham. Matchroom will stage Ben Whittaker versus Benjamin Gavazi. Undercard will include a rematch between Cameron Vong and Gavin Gwynn. Looking forward to that. And Molly McCann's back out on the card as well. Her first fight was interesting when her opponent... I thought it was Molly that was going to end up kicking her, but it was her opponent. So Molly McCann's going to be back out as well. So it's nice. It's Birmingham. So for us Brummies, it's a nice little cheeky little show for us to go to at the end of November as we start getting ready. If you celebrate the Christmas season, I do. Very much so. And then after that, I think they're going straight into Monte Carlo. Now, it's the Conor Walker fight that is going to be the interesting fight on there. So guys, that's the fight. I know there's like Peter McGrail versus Shabazz Masood. Yes, you know, lovely. But it's Conor Walker. That's the fight that I'm looking at. But before we get into that, I wanted to have a look at young Ben Gavazi, because I do not pretend to be a hardcore that knows every fighter and everything about boxing. I don't. And like I said, you can shoot me down in the comments, because some of you are extremely honest. I don't know who Ben Gavazi is. So I thought I'd have a little bit of a look at him to see who he is. Now, the reason why I'm having a look at him is because I spoke to Frank Smith and I said, look, you've implied that maybe Ben wasn't matched the way that you guys would have liked to have matched him. So what do you intend to do with him? How are you going to match him? And Frank was like, look, we're not going to like throw him straight into the deep end. We've got to give him, you know, that first breakthrough fight. We want to fight him potentially 4 times a year, and we will step up as and when. That's a fair comment. I think Ben's had 9 fights so far, hasn't he? And he's had 6 knockouts on his record. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. Need to have a look. So, what do we need to know about Benjamin Gavazi? Ben versus Ben. A lot of Ben's in boxing. So he's German. He's 30 years old. He is a natural light heavyweight. He's 19-1-0. On paper, lovely stuff. On paper, that's a challenge. I haven't watched his fights. These are just raw stats. So he's had 13 KOs, according to, I think it's BOXXERS. So he's had a relatively active pro career. He's had a variety of domestic and international opponents. Latest recorded bout was December 2024 in Germany. He won by TKO in a 10-rounder against someone called Branimir Malencia, another fighter I haven't heard of. So December 2024. So he hasn't been active this year. He's coming off about a year layoff between his last bout and obviously this bout that's scheduled with Whittaker. All right, 11 months if you're going to get techie about it. His last 5 opponents by record include many with mixed results. Yeah, so not always winning records. Some critics will argue that only 5 of his 19 wins have come against truly above water competition. So who he should be fighting. However, he's still got experience. He's had 19 fights. So BOXXERS is ranked around number 50, which is fair because there's quite a few light heavyweights on there. Rings listings, apparently he's featured, but he's not going to be in the top title contenders. Of course he's not, because I would have heard of him if that was the case. You would have heard of him, but maybe you have, who knows. So the matchup is billed as Ben Whittaker stepping up against a more experienced contender, and that I can't argue with. He's definitely experienced. I haven't gone through IG because usually I look at the comments and see what people are saying about whatnot. I haven't seen necessarily any derogatory comments about, oh, who is it, blah, blah, blah. Look, I'm always of the opinion when you switch promoters, don't necessarily get thrown into the fire. Have that, all right, let's have a look at your fight. Yeah? And if you think about the business investment, they've probably put a lot of money into Ben Whittaker. For him to lead boxer that have been invested with, obviously the Saudis again as well, sponsored, whatever, they're going to have had a budget. So I don't know for a fact, but I'm going to make the presumption that Matchroom have paid him handsomely and are going to pay him handsomely because they always wanted him. So Ben Whittaker's in a win-win. So they're going to have to manage him. And when I say manage him, they're going to have to step him up at a level that works for the business as well, if that makes sense. They've got to try and get that money out of him. I don't know what Ben Whittaker's ticket sales are like, because I don't. But I know that he's got a huge following. And one of the questions I asked Frank how are they going to convert that following into ticket sales? Because if they do, he's going to absolutely obliterate pay-per-view or obliterate the gate money. Yeah? So, but he's got to convert that Instagram following into ticket sales. That is what is important, because that's when Matchroom will start to make their revenue. I've spoke to Eddie Hearn, I've spoke to Frank Warren. They invest a lot of money in fighters. If the fighters aren't ticket sellers, how is that money coming back to Matchroom? How are they making that business profitable? Yeah, I'm not talking about what they've got in the bank. I'm talking about the fighters being promoted, being paid, being put on shows, being put in hotels, fed and watered, etc., etc. Now, what revenue are they creating for the business? Yeah, Ben Whittaker will do it through promo, so online videos, views, interviews, stuff like that. That will bring revenue. But I want to see that following turn into ticket sales, because if that happens, a lot of fighters are going to have a hard bar to reach. But you know me, I'm always looking at the business side. Do I know anything about this opponent? No. But I do know, from what I can see, he's got experience, and that is good for Ben. They're putting him in with someone that's got more experience. So just because I don't know him doesn't mean that he's not a credible opponent, that he's not a good fighter. I haven't looked through his footage, guys, and you could argue that I should have done before I did this video. I want the element of surprise. I'm not going to start looking at young Benjamin Gavazi until later on. I'm just looking at the business point of view, the fact that this guy's on a winning record. Yes, he's been out of the ring since December. I think the last time Ben was in was April. So he's got a bit of an advantage. Ben's obviously younger, fresher, sharper. Well, he's with Andy Lee. I like Andy Lee's coaching style. I think it works. I think it suits Ben's slick style as well. I think that's a nice little cute little match up there along with Matchroom. So we'll see what happens. Never write off the underdog. Ben Whittaker appreciates the pressure that he's under. He felt a lot of pressure when he went in to fight Liam Cameron, how it controversially ended, how I think that's a scar, but it's not like we've forgotten about it, but it's not really important now, to me anyway, because it's like we're moving forward with his career. We want to see what happens with him next. He wrote the wrong. He got it done. He stopped Cameron in the second fight. I think it was in Birmingham, actually. And now he's coming back to Birmingham to host this fight. And I'm not going to argue, because Ben Whittaker sat there and said, I want to bring fight nights back to Birmingham. We have got a few Birmingham fighters. We've got Hamza Dean, Ibrahim Spider Suleiman. We've got these people. We've got fighters in the UK, in Birmingham, sorry, that want to get out on cards. So I'm all for it. So when you look at Ben Whittaker's record, he's 9-0-1, isn't he? Apologies, he's had 10 fights. But yeah, 6 of those were via KO. So he's running at a 67% KO rate. Not bad for a light heavyweight. Yes, it was April that he fought Liam Cameron. So I'm wishing him all the best. He's doing his bits. He's coming back strong. I've seen another promo. They've done a manga promo. You guys will call it anime. I'm sticking to manga. A very good promo. And I've always said that. Use that as your promo, because that's your tag. You love all the manga stuff. I've spoke to him about that ages ago. So it's good that Matchroom are investing in that. So in other news, then, Joseph Parker aims for heavyweight title shot via Wardley fight. Now, he did an interview saying that he's prepared, I think it was via TalkSport, that he's prepared to step in and fight Moses Atuma after his fight. Is it next weekend? Yeah. So he's prepared to jump in and do that, which is quite interesting. The thing is with Parker, he suffered with inactivity. It shows that he wants to get in there. Not everyone's jumping at Moses Atuma. I think that's a dangerous fight for Moses Atauma. Very dangerous. But you just don't know how it's going to go because Moses... The thing is, Parker's been down. He's got back up though, but he's been down. Moses, not been down, keeps on proving everybody wrong that doesn't believe in him. People saying, oh, he hasn't been tested yet because no one has got close enough to him to test him because he's quick. Look at his legs. He's like a gazelle. He's in and out. Yeah? And he has been hit. And he's took it. And he's carried on. Do you know what I mean? So, when it comes to, oh, he's not been tested. Listen, he keeps on winning. And that's why we're moaning that he hasn't been tested. Joseph Parker fighting him? We'll see. So, DAZN interview. Parker says locking in a fight makes the training real again. There's no date. When there's no date, motivation can fade, which is, yeah, very well said. He compares Wardley to Usyk in terms of importance. This is my Usyk now. So in other words, he treats every single fight like it's a world title fight. And I believe that's what every boxer should do. Like your life depends on it. That's the attitude you should have. He always credits his team. You know what Joseph Parker's like. He's such a gent. Absolutely love speaking to Joseph. He's a true gent. So he praises his trainer. He praises his nutritionist. And he's obviously got his own social media guy that's been doing all the social media, which in turn has been keeping him very, very relevant. He's a family man, as you know. He takes pride in his family. He's got several children, happily married. His wife's an absolute saint because, let's face it, these few years he's not really been at home. He does acknowledge, obviously, that his focus is on Fabio Wardley. And he says, I think it was a Sky Sports interview, if I don't get past Fabio Wardley, there's no point in talking about Moses Atauma or Usyk or anything else. Now, I admire this about Joseph Parker. I understand. And I do understand. Trust me, I do. Even though I've never laced up the gloves and had a boxing match myself. I like the fact when fighters are open to say, I'm fighting this person, but I want to fight these guys too. I'm focused on Fabio Wardley. Of course I am. That's my world title fight. But yeah, of course I'll step in and fight Moses on 2 months' notice. Of course I'll step in and fight Usyk when he comes back off injury. Why wouldn't I? I'm a former world champion. I know what I'm capable of. I've got better. I have this hunger. I want to win. I love that about Joseph. Because underneath, he said to me once, and I will never forget this, I think it was when Tyson Fury was fighting Dillian Whyte, and I was at the press conference in London, Wembley. Yeah, that's where it was. It was Wembley. And I got to interview Joseph Parker with David Nika. It's on my socials. It's on the channel. And he said to me, and I'll never forget it, he said, Abs, nice guys don't win. Nice guys don't win. You have to change your attitude, because if you're going around being this lovely, nice guy, you're never going to get anywhere. And that always stuck with me. These fighters, you know, when I speak to them, they offer these gems that I'm so appreciative for. I have learned so much since, I think it was December, end of November 2020, when I did my very first online interview. So it's coming up to 5 years I've been doing this now. And the amount of information, the knowledge that these fighters have given me is priceless. Some of the stuff that they've told me, you know, I've carried it into my own life. Even like the promoters, the way that they run their business, their strategic moves, the way they're slick with it. You can learn so much from this sport. I don't know if it's because the sport's kind of a free-for-all and there's no real governance over it. It's not like we've got Magna Carta in boxing. You know, there's some basic bits, but there's no like rule of law in boxing. And I like that authenticity about it, the fact that it is this raw machine, you know. So yeah, Joseph Parker is going up against Fabio Wardley. One thing I've learned, and I'm never ever doing it, is writing off Fabio Wardley, ever. You cannot do that. It's an exciting fight. I know a few people have been kicking off that it's pay-per-view. It is what it is. I'll be doing a watch along for that. I could have gone to it, but I think I'm going to do a watch along. I think I'll find it more entertaining with you guys. So yeah, that kind of sums it up really. It was just a quick catch up because we haven't really spoke about much. Next week is fight week. It's clashing, like I said, with Fraser Clarke and Jamie Takivi. I'm not sure which press conference I'm going to go to. Maybe they're going to change the press conference dates. I don't know. Or is one going to be in the morning and one in the evening? It could be London. It could be Parker in the afternoon, and then Ben Shalom could put his on in the evening in Derby. Who knows? They've got to be clever about this because they've got to try and get as much media coverage as they can and not just rest on the laurels like, yeah, this is going out on BBC 2. We've got like how many million watchers anyway. No, you've still got to be strategic about it. So I will be covering one or the other press conference. I know I've interviewed Fabio and Joseph Parker already when the fight was announced. So common courtesy would suggest that I go and cover the Boxer show if I'm invited, that is. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, guys, but I will be keeping you in the loop. So yeah, that will be a watch along. And I think I might be doing a watch along this Friday because we've got Kieran Conway fighting, haven't we? Tia May Hayton fighting as well at York Hall this Friday. So I might be doing a watch along for that. Either way, I'll be watching it anyway. Whether I broadcast with you guys is another thing. But I'd like to say a shout out to my sponsors, SA UK, Maximum Security, Minimum Fuss. I will keep the content coming because I'm tied up in the days now. I've been struggling to get people on the channel on my onlines, aka Gareth A. Davis, aka Frank Smith. It's not been that easy because people are tied up usually in the evenings. But we'll see what happens. I've got a week off coming up soon. I'm going to head into some gyms in Birmingham and get some content from my local guys anyway. But for now, that's it. And as we say at October Red, first of all, have a fantastic rest of your week, by the way. But as we say at October Red, stay ready.
October Red is sponsored by SA Security. Maximum security, minimum fuss.